Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It is my honor to welcome you to the first of IIIT Hyderabad's Silver Jubilee Talk series with Shri K.T. Rama Rao. We are pleased to share that IIIT Hyderabad has entered its 25th year since its founding. With the support of our stakeholders, the institute has grown from strength to strength with 27 research centers, over 100 faculty, the country's largest academic incubation center and AI group, working towards taking research from lab to land with constructive social impact. To celebrate this milestone, IIIT Hyderabad is hosting its Silver Jubilee Talk series with thought leaders, industry captains, and distinguished academia. We are honored that Shri K.T. Rama Rao will be inaugurating this series with a fireside chat with our students, faculty, and key stakeholders. Shri K.T. Rama Rao, popularly known as KTR, is the working president of the TRS party and is the Telangana Cabinet Minister for Information Technology, Municipal Administration and Urban Development, and the Industries and Commerce Department. He has been working to develop the IT ecosystem in Telangana. One of the most successful initiatives in Telangana in the last few years is very familiar with all of our students, T-Hub, which is the largest startup incubator in India. Apart from this, initiatives such as the Telangana Academy of Skill and Knowledge, also known as TASK, which generates skilled workers, offering quality education and training through the state-run satellite communications network TSAT, WeHub, a startup incubator for women entrepreneurs, T-Works, India's largest prototypic center for electronics, electrochemical, and mechanical startups, and several others. Telangana is amongst the leading states in India when it comes to IT and entrepreneurship. The last few years have seen significant growth for the state, with IT exports doubling in the span of 5 years, and the number of startups in Telangana increasing from 400 in 2016 to 2,000 in 2022. Speaking about Shri K.T. Rama Rao, he has 2 postgraduate degrees, an MSc in biotechnology from the University of Pune, and an MBA in marketing and e-commerce from City University of New York, USA. On behalf of the IIIT community, we are honored to have you here. We thank you for taking time out and welcome you onto stage. I'll also take this opportunity to introduce our moderator for today's talk, Professor Ramesh Loganathan, who needs no introduction amongst the students. Professor Ramesh Loganathan is a professor of co-innovation at IIIT Hyderabad. He has been instrumental in starting and growing the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship here. Prior to academics, Professor Loganathan worked in the tech industry in the Bay Area. He's a leader and mentor when it comes to the entrepreneurship space. I welcome Professor Logan onto the stage. Thank you, and hand it over to you. Also, the students have prepared a very special short video for Shri K.T. Rama Rao. I invite you to look at it. Thank you.
I'll say inspirational. KTR has inspired us all to bring out the best in ourselves.
I think he's the man behind the tech boom of Hyderabad.
Adaptable, intelligent. I'll say a strong leader.
Nijamaina Nayakudu.
So nowadays when I think of ministry, it's no more about fighting in the parliament. It's more about IT development in country sectors. So KTR sir is one of the well-known people in this industry, very intellectual and very smart.
He's a very charismatic man and a very thoughtful person.
He's an amazing personality, and because of him we could see a lot of change in Hyderabad.
Charismatic. He's a good orator.
Magnetic.
Influential.
Groundbreaking.
Visionary.
మా కోసం కేటీఆర్ గారు ఎంతో కష్టపడుతున్నారు. అన్ని స్కూల్స్ కాలేజెస్ తిరుగుతున్నారు, మా గురించి తెలుసుకొని మా సదుపాయాలన్నీ ఇంకా ఇంప్రూవ్ చేయాలని చూస్తున్నారు. ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ ఫెసిలిటీస్ అన్ని ఇంప్రూవ్ చేయాలని చూస్తున్నారు. వన్ ఆఫ్ ద బెస్ట్ లీడర్స్ అట్ ప్రెసెంట్ టైమ్స్.
What did the dog say though? What did the dog say? Who can interpret what the dog said? I told sir that it's our research dog. Anybody can interpret? Who knows him well? What did he say? Anybody? Loud? Any dog lovers? Huh? Oh, thank you, man. The best. Thank you. Very kind of you to say. So we have 13 dogs on campus. Each has the internet page, sir. And this one is known as a research dog. He sits in most of the classes. So thank you so much, sir, for taking the time and joining us today. And thank you. One big round of applause for sir. I mean, this is for the last hour and a half, he's been looking at some of our research demos and so engaged. And the way he was engaged, we could spend another 2 hours in that room. And that's just PJ was selling on the way here. It's barely 5% of our work that was showcased today. And thank you so much for the quality time. So before we get started off with the interaction, we thought, like, if you want to share some opening remarks before we just get started with interaction.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the team of IIIT Hyderabad. Congratulations to the entire team, PJN, Raj, and the entire team on celebrating 25 years. 25 years is a huge occasion, a momentous occasion, landmark, so to speak. And thank you for having me over. Thank you really for the honor to be able to see all the different things that you're doing, all the amazing research that goes on here. Each and every time I'm here, I'm inspired. I learn so much and I go back with more positive inspiration, more positive stories to narrate to the rest of the world. So thank you for having me firstly. Secondly, let me just quickly give you my thoughts on how technology and how possibly the world is changing. See, as a Minister for Information Technology and as a Minister for Industry, as a Minister also representing urban development and municipal administration, I can tell you from first-hand experience that one need not be a technologist, one need not be an able coder or a programmer to be able to understand the impact of technology. I think that's the fundamental thing that we all realize in government today, across different governments, within the states, in Government of India, I'm sure, and also across the world. Technology and how pervasive it has become and how effective it has become to tackle real-world problems is something that I think every government has started to realize. When I talk to our Honorable Chief Minister, when we tell him about all the cool emerging technologies, all the cool work that is being done in prestigious institutions like the IIIT Hyderabad, he only has one comeback and one question. He says, what is the positive societal impact of this technology on the common man in Telangana, in India? Because the way he thinks, and I think the way all leaders ought to think is, India doesn't have the luxury to leapfrog. India has to pole vault. India has to latch on to technology, which is its strength. India needs to remind itself that our strength in today's knowledge economy is the think force that we have. The median age of our country is 27. 50% of India is less than the age of 27. 65% of India is less than the age of 35. And that is our biggest strength, if you ask me, because, I mean, the whole demographic dividend thing that keeps getting discussed, that people keep throwing around very loosely, we need to realize and we need to understand the power of this intellect, the ability of this intellect to propel ourselves into the first world. See, whether we like it or not, there are certain things that we need to remind ourselves, getting out of our comfort zones. We are still a third world country whose per capita is of thereabouts $2,000. While it is cool to talk about autonomous vehicles, while it is cool to talk about space tech, it is also cool to talk about robotics, all the cool things that can be done using AI, of course. It is also grim, let us also remind ourselves that we are a country with the largest number of poor people on the planet, especially post-COVID. We have surpassed Nigeria, and we today have the largest number of poor people on the planet. Of course, at the same time, we also have the second richest guy on the planet in India. The point I'm trying to make is this disparity that exists in the country. If one has to straddle between these two different Indias, the poor India and the not so poor India, we need to understand that tech has the ability to propel a lot of people. If you look back, say 2-3 decades, which part of India or which section of India, in fact, has moved from one socio-economic strata to another? I would say all the guys, who've sent their kids to become technology engineers, especially post-2000. You see that a large number of Telugu guys and a large number of Indians also who have moved to US, who have moved to Europe, who have moved to other parts of the world and also in India, have really moved up a couple of notches in the socio-economic strata. But the fact remains, we are still a third world country. We still have real world challenges. We have seen during the pandemic how, woefully inadequate our infrastructure is in terms of medical infrastructure, that is, how we could do so much more using technology. We also need to remind ourselves that, while the future is very, very positive and upbeat, while the future is very optimistic, we also need to realize and we also need to understand that unless we get out of our comfort zone and do something about it, in the sense, in India, the psychology of our society, of our parents, of people around us is risk mat lo, zyada risk na lo. आप या तो engineer बनो, या doctor बनो, but entrepreneur मत बनो. That is a typical thinking that you're given, where from a very early stage you're told कि तुम एक job हासिल कर लो, get a job, be comfortable. Either government job है तो अच्छा है, कम करोगे, पैसा ज़्यादा मिलेगा. Private sector में भी job है तो चलेगा, but never ever try and become an entrepreneur. That is typically what has been ingrained into us from a very early stage. But what I think, Indians have to do at this point in time, because we are seriously at an inflection point. Because India is where possibly the US was 35, 40 years ago, and where China was about 20, 25 years ago. But we don't have the luxury of doing the same thing that they've done, in 20 years or 30 years. We have to do that in the next 10 years. And for that to happen, we need to leverage technology. We need to do so much more. Now, what do I mean? Am I just giving you a theoretical spiel, or do I mean something that can be translated into actionable agenda? I'll give you one example of how artificial intelligence can come to the rescue of a farmer in India who probably is not as well read or who does not know the word AI at all. I was in my constituency about a year and a half ago in a village called Virnapalli. We were inaugurating a farmer center where we had also installed, a television set with an embedded app in it, where farmers could come in Telugu. Farmers could come in and look at some of the problems and get solutions. So when we inaugurated the facility, the guy who had installed, the app was trying to basically open it and give me a demo. He was trying hard. He was a young guy. Obviously, he was, I think, a bit overwhelmed because, there were too many people. I'm guessing he didn't expect. So when he was trying very hard to go to the right kind of window and give me the right kind of answer, there was a farmer who was also with us, maybe 40, 45 years, probably not very, well educated. Maybe he's done some education, but he's not somebody who would be able to write a piece of code or who understands AI, etc. So he ended up guiding that guy, the gentleman who actually was from the product company. The farmer kept telling him, "Nahi, wahan mat jao, idhar jao, us drop, then kindi ki the drop down, go into that drop down, click on there and do that, open this, etc., etc." So I was amazed. I said, "How do you know this?" He said, "Sir, ye log install karke ek mahina ho gaya. We've started using it also. Soft launch has happened. I have started using it. I like it. All I know is one thing. If in my cotton crop, if there is a problem, I just need to click the picture of the leaf, come here and give it to this guy. He'll put it in the app and he'll give me the exact solution. Okay, what is the problem? What needs to be done?" So he understands the impact of technology. He doesn't necessarily know that there is machine learning, there is AI behind it, there is a method to that madness. All he cares about is a solution. India needs many, many such solutions in the real world. We need to understand how artificial intelligence can be used to come out with agriculture innovation. When I see, it's cool to talk about agriculture, but agriculture, if you look at the US versus India versus Israel, it's very, very, very different. In the US, you'd see large crops like 5,000 acres and 10,000 acres, where there is one farmer with a lot of machinery, with very few people actually, with drones and everything, and what have you. I mean, all the cool stuff, all the cool gadgets. He's using pesticide, he's using drones to spray pesticides. He's doing so many other things, using technology. You go to Israel, where land is a precious commodity, you'd see hydroponics and other things. You come to India, you'd see that because of the population density, you'd see that, most of the farmers are small holding farmers, having less than 1 hectare of land. So the word agriculture and how it gets interpreted in the US versus India versus Israel, it varies from place to place. And also the fascination for agriculture also changes. In today's world, honestly, when you talk to a farmer, he'll tell you that none of his children are interested in agriculture anymore. They all want to move to technology. They all want to get their degrees and, start working elsewhere. So these are the real world problems. Of course, how certain countries have reinvented themselves is right in front of our eyes, is a huge source of inspiration. I've been to Japan thrice now. And each and every time I've been to that country, I've come back with nothing but respect and more respect. See, this is one country, Japan, which has all the odds stacked up against it. All the natural forces stacked up against it. They don't have enough land to actually do agriculture and produce enough for themselves. They have tsunamis very often. They have earthquakes. They have to verticalize. They have to keep innovating. They have to come out with buildings which are earthquake proof because they're in a very unstable zone seismologically. They've actually suffered, the only country to have suffered nuclear explosion, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But what Japan has done in the last several decades now is something that's truly admirable. They're now, I think, 4th or 5th largest economy in the world after India. I'm sorry, before, in fact, even ahead of India. Even though they are so small, in spite of all the odds being stacked up against them, not having enough natural resources, not having precious commodities like water or even land, all they have is human intellect. All they've been able to leverage is human intellect and come out with world-class products. Unfortunately, in India, even after 75 years of independence, even after having abundant natural resources, even after having abundant think force, like I said, 65% of India is less than the age of 35. We are able to solve the world's problems, working for somebody else. Our people are everywhere. Wherever you travel on the globe, you run into Indians everywhere. You see our Sundars and Satyas running Microsofts and Googles. You see our guys doing admirable work as doctors, as scientists in NASA. But unfortunately, if you look back and if you think back, how many world-class innovations have come out of India, which have truly captured the imagination of the globe? I would say hardly any. How many real molecules? How many real large molecules, in spite of being the pharmacy of the world? How many real innovations, original innovations have come from India in the pharmaceutical space? Not many. Not a single large molecule has come out from India. So the fact remains, in spite of having so much intellect, in spite of having so much ability, in spite of being the youngest nation on the planet, the largest think force on the planet, unfortunately, our mindset, our sociological, psychological conditioning is such that we are not allowed to take a risk. Risk-taking is something that Indians are averse to. We play it safe. But if we really have to move and propel ourselves into first world, we do not have the luxury of not wanting to take a risk. If we really want to straddle between the first world and third world, I'm sure most of you travel to the US, to Europe, to other parts of the world, you'd realize that the world has moved on. India is still languishing far behind. We need to ensure that we jump a few hoops quickly, and we need to accelerate our growth through innovation. We don't have the luxury otherwise, and we need to continue to grow. Just to give you one example, 1987, India and China, both similar sized countries in terms of population. We recently crossed them also, by the way. Both of these countries, India and China, have had a similar sized economy in 1987, exactly 35, 36 years back. But today, China is a $16 trillion economy. India is still a $3 trillion economy. So what went wrong? What did China do that India did not do? China focused on the right things, got its priorities right, decided that it will work towards being the superpower of the world. Whereas India, unfortunately, gets caught up in silly stuff. Halal, hijab, कौन क्या पहन रहा है, कौन क्या खा रहा है, आपके बगल में जो बैठा है उसका क्या रिलीजन है, क्या कास्ट है, ये सब जो बकवास पे हम लोग ध्यान देते हैं. I think this is something that we need to overcome as a country if we really want to. I mean, see, politicians are not here for good. Nobody is here for good. Humans are not here for good. All of us have to go one day. Politicians will go, other humans will go. Our stay on the planet is temporary. Let us remind ourselves of that. We all keep thinking that we are here for good. We live like we are here for good, but we are not. We come with a shelf life. And unless in that small shelf life, small lifespan, we do something meaningful and impactful, that life is useless, is what I personally think. And we have the luxury of leveraging technology like never before. And especially you guys who've been trained, the wonderful institution like IIIT Hyderabad, have that fortitude, latitude to be risk takers. So my humble suggestion, my humble request to all of you is make an impact in our country, create products that are truly global, and ensure that you take as much risk as possible, because it is one life after all, and you have to live it to the hill. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Isn't it inspiring and invigorating? I think I still remember the first conversation we had in Taj Krishna, sir. The first month when you were in office, we had the industry interaction and I anchored the conversation. That was very special and you had, I still remember, 1,000 people in the room, dinner was served. Nobody went out for almost 2.5 hours interaction. I'm sure you remember that. So the first interaction, and that was special because they're all my friends from industry. This is the second most special for me because they're all my kids. Right? I've been involved with the institute since 2002 as adjunct faculty and then full-time faculty since 16. And so it's a very special evening, sir, for me personally and for all of us. So thank you, sir, again for those nice, very, very kind of enthusing words. Just before we get started with the questions that the students had, they have some with me here, and then we'll go into the audience also.
Sure.
And who all have questions? Can I show of hands so that I know where to walk? Who all have questions? I'll walk there in a bit. That's all. More hands, big, so I can see.
No, you
Okay.
can. Don't force them.
So I'll come in a bit. But sir, first, you just saw some of our research works today. And we're primarily a research institution. We take a lot of pride in the work that we do and our students do. So your initial reflections on that, sir?
Well, research is a bedrock of innovation. I mean, you look at the world, you look at, all the best universities of the world, all the best scientific institutions of the world. Research has been the bedrock of innovation. Talk about Carnegie Mellon, or talk about MIT or the Harvards or the Stanfords or any of the world-class institutions you look around. Unless there is good research and development, there's not much innovation that has come up. But in India, unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of spending billions and billions of dollars on research. Unfortunately, government grants are limited. So therefore, while PJN wants me to, open my purse strings and give him more money, I'm unfortunately, like I said, also hamstrung by, various challenges that I have to grapple with. So in India, primarily research has been driven by Jugaad, by very, very innovative kind of methods and means. I just saw something which was very fancy. Not fancy, but fascinating. An analog meter has been converted, by your team here into a digital meter. This is a water meter I'm talking about. Into an analog has been converted into a digital meter, which I thought was rather cool. I mean, at a very, very low cost, you've converted it in such a way that I don't have to invest more and more money. Indians, we need to figure out our own solutions and our own formulas. What works in the West? What has worked very, very ably in the West, we cannot merely ape it and blindly copy it. That is not going to work for us. Indians need Indian solutions. And if you're solving India's problems, you're solving the 1/5 of world problems. So obviously there will be other countries where your product will have a lot of value. And some of the work that is being done is truly mind-blowing. I mean, I was just telling Aftab, wherever he is, your professor, assistant professor, I think. Aftab. What he's doing again, what his team is doing is truly outstanding. I'm a diabetic for the last 17 years. So he showed me something, an app, a tool that he's developed where all you have to do is step on a mat. It's like a weighing scale. It basically captures your weight distribution on your feet, how it is distributed on the on the toes versus the back of the foot, I guess. And how orthopedic heels and soles have to be developed, and diabetologists, endocrinologists can use it. He was also showing me your sitting posture and how it affects your body, how it affects your spine, your neck, etc., the ergonomics that go into design. So all of these things which have real world applications are truly going to be game changers. I honestly and humbly believe. And not just these, but Anup was showing me all the cool things that they've done. And then, I've met a bunch of your professors, bunch of your students, all truly path-breaking and mind-blowing stuff. But I do have one appeal to you guys. I think you'll have to start thinking global. I mean, Indian, of course, providing breakthroughs for India is very cool. And there's a large enough market, large enough appetite for all of us. But think large, think global, think of solutions for the world, not just for India. Because whatever you are innovating here, whatever you are discovering here, will have a larger global impact. And I'm very confident that some of the things that you're talking about will truly have an unimaginable kind of an impact. In today's world where technology literally connects everybody in the world, I think all it takes is one brilliant outcome, one brilliant breakthrough, and then you're set. So my humble request to all of you is, don't just innovate for India, innovate for the world, innovate at a scale that will truly blow away the globe and, will make them start taking notice of what Indians in India, in Telangana, in Hyderabad, in Triple IT, Hyderabad are doing. That's what I would advise all of your team members.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I think that's a fond hope. I mean, when PJN and Dr. Sangar and others started the incubator in 2008, the hope was that, I mean, all the fantastic work that's happening in the research labs, can the incubator on campus translate that into products? Not that, it was not that easy. Then we started the product labs. We're on that journey, but it's a very hard journey, sir. But we're on the journey. You've seen, I mean, this city is it's a hub of research, right? There's so many CSR labs, the Agri Labs is a hub for pharmaceutical research. There are places like Triple IT Hyderabad, IIT BITS, University of Hyderabad. And still, like you said, we don't create, and if any city in the country has an opportunity to create products for the world, it's probably Hyderabad in terms of large size, the intellectual capital, all the research institutions. What are your views, that you see it very up close and personal? Why is it not happening? What should we be doing to be able to translate some of these into global products?
Great question, Ramesh. In fact, I'll give you one example from life sciences sector. See, Government of India in the initial days post-independence has set up a number of public sector undertakings, both in defense and strategic areas, where they thought Indians need to, kind of improve their presence. India needs to improve its presence. One of such institutions that was set up in Hyderabad was IDPL. I don't know how many of you are familiar with IDPL. Now it's shut down, of course. But IDPL literally, single-handedly produced some of the best scientists from Hyderabad, who have then gone on to create some of the best pharmaceutical companies of the country and of the world. IDPL produced Dr. Anji Reddy, who created Reddy Labs. Today is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies, not only in India, but across the world. And from Reddy Labs, again, came several scientists who have then gone on to create Aurobindo, Hetero, MSN Labs, and a number of other pharmaceutical companies in Hyderabad that you see today. Today, Hyderabad's life sciences ecosystem is almost the size of $50 billion US, and it's constantly growing. Our ambition is to be a $100 billion sized ecosystem by 2028, within the next 5 years. It might sound a bit audacious, but the fact, Ramesh, is one IDPL was able to spur and create a 50 billion ecosystem, which I'm trying to now ensure it becomes a 100 billion ecosystem. I think a similar approach, where one single ecosystem, one single facility can enable such innovation, is why we created T-Hub. In fact, T-Hub's whole intent was not just to be a fancy place where you'll have cool interiors and nice chairs and nice cubicles, etc. It was to bring about this synergy that exists in the system, in the ecosystem. Unfortunately, in Hyderabad, or even in India for that matter, there are a number of scientific labs where amazing research happens, but not all of it is applied research. Not all of it is relevant to the market conditions. Not all of it is relevant to what the industry is seeking or the world is seeking. So therefore, to bring about that synergy between what goes on in a lab versus what the world is wanting, say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that is where governments have to kind of come in and do the matchmaking. That's exactly why we created RICH. Ajit Rangnekar is here somewhere, I saw him. Ajit heads our Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad, which tries to bring about a synergy between the academic world, the academia, and the industry. I would urge Triple IT Hyderabad to open its doors to more industry partners. I know you do a lot. You work with Intels, you work with all the large technology companies and others out there. But you also need to start looking at some, again, I have to compliment the guys who are working on the Smart City initiative here, the team who's working on that, because you've created this 60 acres, is it? How many acres? 65 acres of campus as a living, thriving smart city lab, which captures a lot of metrics, which can then be used as a POC by a number of startups. So similar such approaches, to enable more and more innovation, real world innovation coming from Triple IT Hyderabad in collaboration with the industry, is what will spur further growth. Now in life sciences, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but you would be amazed by the number. The largest number of US FDA approved manufacturing facilities in any single state in the world is in Telangana, the largest number. Second largest is New Jersey. Raj, close to your Philadelphia. The second largest number of facilities, US FDA approved facilities, are in New Jersey, which is 189. Telangana has 214 US FDA approved manufacturing facilities. You guys would also be surprised to know the largest vaccines manufactured in the world are from Telangana. We are the vaccine capital of the world. We produce 1/3 of human vaccines manufactured across the globe. 9 billion doses of vaccines are produced predominantly by 4 companies from Telangana, Sanofi. Earlier, it was Shanta Biotech, founded by Varaprasad Reddy Garu. Bharat Biotech, founded by Suchitra and Krishna Ella. Biological Evans by the Datlas. And also Indian Immunologicals, which is a Government of India company. So between all these 4, they manufacture 9 billion doses from Hyderabad alone. So there are some strengths that we need to leverage and latch onto. But like I said, while we produce 40% of India's pharmaceuticals and 33% of world's vaccines, there's not a single original molecule that has come out from Hyderabad or India. Yes, we are the capital of generic manufacturing, but we don't produce original drugs because it takes billions and billions of dollars going into R&D, which no Indian MNC also can afford at this point in time. So we need jugaad, we need our own solutions, like I said, to spur further growth. I think we also need the collaboration of brilliant institutions like IIIT, ISB, NALSAR, IIT Hyderabad, BITS, Pilani here, a number of other wonderful engineering colleges and medical colleges which are also in our city.
So somebody said, iSpeed founder Sharas Rama once said, Flipkart, he said like when Hyderabad has its own Flipkart, it will spur, the example you gave of IDPL, you have one company that can spur a lot of entrepreneurs with entrepreneurial, with abilities and money and the required experience, that will spur the growth. We hope something like that happens and we have a role in it. If it comes out of our research, that's our hope, sir.
In fact, just so you guys know, the first space tech company which was able to propel a rocket into orbit was a T-Hub incubator called as Skyroot Aerospace, which sent its first rocket Vikram S on 18th of November, which is a Hyderabadi-based startup. The first space tech company which sent nanosatellites into, first Indian company which sent nanosatellites into orbit is again a Hyderabad company called Dhruva Space through a Thibault mission. Now, if young startups like these can aim for the skies and beyond, I'm sure most of you here have the latitude and have the fortitude to be able to also come out with something equally amazing. So my humble request is, do not just think of a Flipkart because he quoted Flipkart. Flipkart is good. It's done well, but it was a copycat. I'm saying, try and be original as you can. Try and be as innovative as you can. Don't just merely, if making money is the objective, there are plenty of ways to do it. But if you are wanting to do something truly innovative, as an educated, as a young person whose ambition is global, then you need to think bigger. You need to think more original. You need to actually be truly path-breaking and truly disruptive, is what I would say.
Absolutely, sir. So this, I'll start reading out some of the questions before I go into the audience. And by the way, those we have alumni watching the live stream, sir, from all over the world. So any alumni, if you have any questions, please just post it on the chat window. Sonori is looking at that and she will send it across to me. So first question from our student Shreyas Revankar. What do you think Indian colleges lack that foreign universities have? Since you kind of studied here and you studied abroad, you worked there, came back. So you have view on both sides. So what is it that Indian colleges lack that foreign universities have?
I think 2 things come to my mind readily. One, like I said, is billions and billions of dollars that the foreign universities can spend in research, which unfortunately we don't have. That luxury we don't have. The second thing that comes to my mind is, what happens in Europe is something truly cool and amazing, which I'm, myself, Jayesh, we've been trying to bring that into Telangana. A lot of times what gets taught in colleges and universities here doesn't have a real world synchrony, so to speak. So what's done in Germany is this practice school kind of a thing, where the students actually get to spend almost a year and a half in the industry. So a practice school or an apprenticeship model, which is lacking here in India. So these 2 things, the ability to spend big money on research, and secondly, the real world exposure and dovetailing it with academia. If these 2 things can be done, I think we can do a lot better. What I would
absolutely, sir. I think we are trying some of it. Hopefully, it'll start panning out. But yes, sir, absolutely. I think that is. There's another question from Soviet Nayak, referring to your wiki page and your background. The long question, but the summary is like, you started in the IT industry. What is your advice for us, all IT students, our students graduating this year and coming years? What's your advice for them?
Well, I started in the IT industry, but I'm not an IT engineer. Actually, I have a master's degree in biotechnology from Pune University. Then I have another master's degree in business administration, and I majored in marketing and e-commerce from City University of New York. So I did this back in late 90s. This was around the time when Y2K was an issue. This was around the time when .com startups used to be called .coms back then. Raj will know, PJN will know. We are all old people, so we don't really know.
He doesn't look old, right?
No.
Does he look old?
I'm as old as Raj there. So
Or the other way around.
as young
Raj is as young as you. So.
as young as him, actually. So this was .com time, and I can't write a single line of code, by the way. I think you need not be a pure play tech guy to understand the impact of technology. If you want to be an entrepreneur, and I'm focused on the entrepreneurship only because of one thing. Like I said, there are enough number of programmers in the world that can write a piece of code. That's not a big deal. I think a kid in Philippines, a kid in Malaysia, a kid in Mexico City can also write as good a piece of code as any of us sitting here in Hyderabad or India at this point in time, because things have changed over the last 2 decades. Everybody's been able to crack that piece. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, if you want to be an entrepreneur, then you need to understand the real world utilization of technology and how quickly you can deliver it. Now, what do I mean? I'm a Telugu guy. I'm an Indian, but I speak Telugu at home. Now, my mother can't speak a line of English. My daughter can't speak much Telugu. Now, I'm sure there will come a time when both of them need to be able to talk to each other seamlessly and understand each other and communicate back to each other very, very quickly. I'm not even talking about some tool across the phone or across the continents. I'm talking about a real world situation where a granddaughter and a grandmother need to be able to converse with each other seamlessly, irrespective of what language each of them is fluent in. So that's a real world app right there. That's something that you should possibly look at. Likewise, all the other stuff. If, for example, a farmer calling in to the agriculture university here in his language, in his own rustic way, saying, "This is a problem I have. What is the solution?" If there is a scientist out there who can't speak Telugu, we need to have an app. I'm sure you guys are already working on it. The natural language solution app that you guys are working on. So there are millions and millions of such possibilities. All you need to find is the pain point and how you can address it and overcome it in a way which is meaningful and real. See, especially with IT industry booming over the last 2 decades, most of us have developed lifestyle diseases. Now, therein lies the opportunity. Like I was telling Aftab, you're sitting on a gold mine, just make sure that it works. Coming out with additives, coming out with tools which, using our National Center for Additive Manufacturing here, right in the city of Hyderabad. You can, and largest prototyping facility is also right here, T-Works. Utilize all these, and all the robotics guys who are involved in robotics can come out with new prototypes. So all of these things which can solve real world pain points can help you build something truly innovative, truly prosthetics, for example. There are enough disabled people in India who are looking for solutions, who are looking for tools that will help them navigate, daily chores, simple daily chores like going to the washroom and coming back without hurting themselves. These are real world problems, and all of these will have commercial applications and commercial functionality. So my humble request to all of you, don't just think of being a job seeker. Think of creating jobs, think of creating value, think of creating an impact, and think global. Please don't think small. Don't think Hyderabad, Bangalore, India. Think big and aim for the moon. That's what I would say.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, by the way, Professor Krishna Reddy is there, sir. See, he works very closely with the Agri University. Some of the solutions you're referring to, I'm sure some of his work is also in that. He does a lot of the work for cotton and other crops, sir. And you refer to NCAM. So they were here this afternoon. We're looking at a joint cohort along with eHub on additive manufacturing startups. So you're one of the most entrepreneurial leaders that I know. You're probably one of the most entrepreneurial persons I know. Right? I'm sure if you done a startup, you would have been phenomenally successful.
I don't know about that. It's easier said than.
So
I'll tell you what. Cricket देख के commentary बोलना बहुत आसान है, but खेलना बहुत मुश्किल है. So looking at all of you guys and giving you my own ideas is okay. Advice is free, but to actually get stuff done, it's very, very difficult. I understand your problem also. To be on the other side of the table and actually innovate something, to be able to present. And guys, by the way, while we are on this subject, I have one piece of suggestion. Not only come out with products, not only come out with ideas, but you also need to be able to articulate and pitch it to investors. Capital is not an issue. Capital is not an issue, provided you're able to articulate well, provided you're able to hit the right buttons on the other side. Indians are tremendous in terms of developing solutions and solving problems. Problem solving skills are, we are the best in the world. But when it comes to presentation and the soft skill part of it, we're not as good. I've lived in the US for about 8 years and Raj has lived there, I think, half of his life or maybe more. One thing you would notice in America, even the smallest of things, the way they present it so dramatically, even the smallest of achievements, how beautifully it gets presented, is something that we need to learn and learn quick. Because if you want the best of capital flow coming into Hyderabad, Telangana, and India, while capital is not an issue, to raise it quickly before you hit the valley of death, you need to ensure that you articulate and you have a team member or your chief business guy who can actually present the idea in the shortest span of time, about 60 to 90 seconds, to all the venture capital out there in the world, and ensure that the capital gets your attention and get the check signed quickly. That's one piece of advice.
Absolutely, sir. I've been working with entrepreneurs since 2006 or 7, sir. We started Head Start Network in NGO in 2007, and then our incubator started in 2008, and then many more. I would say you will make a fantastic entrepreneur, sir. I know you don't agree, but I think you'll make a fantastic entrepreneur. I'll put my money on you, sir. If you do a startup.
See, my election is later this year. If I'm out of job, maybe I'll take you up on that offer.
Absolutely, sir. I'll be your first investor. So a related question, sir. I mean, from Dhruv Mittal, did you want to pursue a career in politics, or whether other plans and this happened along the way?
No. In fact, growing up, like any kid, who sees his father or his parents, I was obviously enamored by what my father does. I was obviously drawn to what he does. It has always been there. In fact, it's been a calling. But when I jumped in 2006 September, I did not actually seek the permission of my father. He's always said, get your basic education and then you do what you want. He basically gave me the choice, left it to me saying, whatever you want to pursue, it's up to you, but get your basic education. So after I've had a couple of master's degrees and after I've started working and started making money, he basically left it to me, do what you want. So without really asking him, without really seeking his permission, I jumped into it in 2006 when he had resigned from Karimnagar for his parliament seat, because it was a do or die kind of a battle then. We were all championing the cause of statehood for Telangana. It was not a very popular demand back then. But had he lost the election, it would have been end of the road. So therefore, as a son, as a person who believed in his ideology, I jumped into it without actually telling him. I told him that I've quit my job after he won the election. He was, of course, a bit angry, but I don't think I left him with much of a choice. So I think one has to follow, your calling, your dream. So it has always been something that I wanted to do. Of course, once in a while you regret after you sign up for something, you start regretting it also in between. So I do have a number of such regrets, which I'll not talk about and bore you right now. But nevertheless, I think, as a total experience, I can't complain. I can complain about a lot of things in my job, but I can't complain of lack of excitement. Every day there is something or the other going on. Somebody's throwing a brick bat at me, or somebody's hurling a new fresh abuse at me, or fresh accusation at me, or somebody's asking me to do something that seems impossible to begin with. So it's a challenging job in a challenging country, especially with digital media kind of, also being very, very in your face of late. But I think it's a terrific job to have. I'm eternally grateful and thankful to the people of Telangana for blessing us for 2 consecutive terms of to run the government, to basically run the state. So I think
I'm sure you'll get the 3rd term, sir.
I hope so.
So and we're glad you did quit your job and help and then get into politics. I think it's one of the best things that happened to the state and the city. On a lighter vein, sir, a question: the student didn't name himself or herself. Cats or dogs?
Absolutely dogs.
And we're a dog-loving campus.
Yes, I just saw your dog.
Applause for that. I mean, we had our PhD dog also talk to sir. We don't know what he said, but he did talk to sir.
Not only me, my son is a huge, my daughter and son both are huge fans of dogs. So we have 7 dogs at home. So yeah,
wow.
dog.
Yeah. So then you can relate to our love for dogs. And every now and then they do, I mean, we're a large campus, they do scare some people, sometimes chase, or in extreme cases, even bite.
No,
We
exercise
try
is
to
good.
deal with it.
Exercise is good. Physical activity is good. If the dog is chasing you, please run as fast as you.
While on the lighter note, one more question from a student. Best places or best place for biryani or shawarma in the city?
That's a risky question for me. I'm not going there because, you name one, you'll get slammed by others. I'll tell you, Hyderabadi biryani is the best in the country, best in the world. That much I'll tell you.
You can blindly walk into any of those places.
Absolutely. Any
Yes,
place you
that's
go in
a good-
Hyderabad.
I think it's a safe thing. Like you walk into any of those places, you will have probably very, very good biryani.
Better than Lucknow biryani, better than any Awadhi biryani, any other biryani there is. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm going to debate anybody in India on this one. Hyderabadi biryani is the best. No question about that. I think everybody will agree.
And served with a lot of passion, sir. The other thing about.
Absolutely.
While on lighter note, what's your daily routine like?
Daily routine, like I said, see, tomorrow morning I start at 8 o'clock to Nizamabad. There is Kakatiya Sandbox, which Raju Reddy has set up there. And I'm spending more than half the day there. So again, it's, like I said, my job is one where I get to do fancy things once in a while. I get to, meet the who's who of the world at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Next day, I'm in Sirsila meeting some farmers and, people who are wanting a 2 BHK and, somebody who's wanting a pension. So I get to straddle different worlds, very, very different worlds. You get to see the first world, the third world, and everything in between. So thankful because, it gives you such an amazing exposure and such an amazing opportunity, to serve the people and also to learn so much every single day. I can't complain. But there is no specific routine as such. It's not a 9 to 5 job. So yeah, there are several events to attend, lots of travel also. And then, you get to meet lots of very, very interesting people, some very amusing people, some people who are very amused by me also. So it's very interesting.
You're one of the most engaging people, sir. I'm sure you will be in any audience. I'm sure people will be amused.
Now,
in a good way.
Ramesh needs something from me for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so nice. I'm kidding.
No, sir, you bring out.
You're being very, very
this out in people. You bring this out in people, sir.
Thank you.
So
I'll put in a good word to Kalpana for you, for sure. I'll tell her that you were amazing. You did a great job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, that's the best thing you could do for me.
Thank you. I'm married too.
So, while still on lighter topics, what's your favorite movie?
There isn't one. See, I'm a huge movie buff. I watch everything. I mean, there is not a single thing I do not watch, especially the pandemic. The one relief we all had was when we were sitting home while we are not working or not on Twitter or not on social media or not on WhatsApp. The one thing that we were all doing was basically having an eye on the OTT and everything that there is. So I watch all kinds of movies. I'm a huge fan of amazing writing. I'm a huge fan of content. Of course, from a very early stage being in Hyderabad, we all were huge fans of the Hollywood movies and the Bollywood movies and of course the Telugu film industry. But I'm really, really, amazed by the content in Malayalam movies. I'm really, really amazed because they have some original writing. They have some really, really original writing. So during OTT, I got to watch lots of that, movies such as Ayapunum, Koshunum. I can name 100 different things. I don't want to go there. And in fact, I told several of my friends in Telugu film industry that you guys need to start getting more original content.
You've seen the superstar movie, sir? What's it called? Minnal Murali.
Minnal Murali, I didn't actually. Tovino Thomas, I didn't get to watch that. No, I didn't get to watch that. Because I think it's a loose adaptation of Spider-Man or, one of the Marvel movies.
Yes, sir. One of the superheroes movies.
Yeah, I don't want to do
Indian version of it, sir.
No, I don't want to do what the West. I don't want to see what the West has done and then look at an Indianized version of it. I'd rather see
It's the
something.
other way around. It is what West could not do.
Oh.
You should see it, sir.
I will watch it. But I'm a huge fan of 3 genres. I like, the comic genre, the comedy genre, which, everything from slapstick to everything I watch in comedy. And I love, all kinds of comedy. Brahmanandam comedy all the way to Chris Rock comedy. Will convey it to him, please. And then I also, of course, love thrillers. I watch most of the thrillers and, I'm a huge fan of the, spy series like Jason Bourne is a huge, I'm a fan of the whole series. And all such similar series I watch. In fact, I just finished watching Fauda yesterday. The third thing I like, of course, is the rom-coms also. So, yeah, huge fan of all of these
I don't
works.
know why you're all so surprised. I hear some surprising smiles.
Why? I mean, I watched Jerry Maguire when I was in college, man. Come on. You will like different things at different points in life. But of late, I'm also getting old, so I'm also watching, where God is and why nature is the way it is. All those things that Morgan Freeman with his deep voice is trying to educate us. And I've been watching that also. So I watch everything, is what I'm
Vasu was just telling some time back that he's reading a book called or hearing a book called Life 3.0.
I don't get this hearing book thing. I can read a book or watch a movie. I can't do this. I can't do this audio books. I can't do. That's not my cup of tea, Vasu.
Sir, we got a question from alumni that's watching live stream, Patanjali. If farmers are not,
That's not Baba Ramdev. Somebody called Patanjali. He's not asking questions. Why are you guys listening?
Okay, Patanjali Bamidipati. Okay. So if farmers are not willing to send their children, it's a long question, but summary, if they're not willing to send their children to do agriculture, do you think agriculture will come to a halt?
No,
How
it
do we
won't.
address?
Absolutely not. I think we'll just, like everything else, disruption will come into play. You'll see Uberization of all the farm equipment happen, not very far from now. In fact, I met a youngster called Agni, who's a Chennai-based drone company called Garuda. Me and Jayesh both met him in Davos. He's wanting to come and set up something in Hyderabad, in Telangana. And he's saying, I have a customer service model where I'll employ nearly 2,000 plus kids, give them all the, drones. They can then talk to the farmers in their local mandals and a few villages, and they can start, working out with the farmers and ensure that the pesticide is sprayed at a proper time in a certain fashion, and they get paid for that. It's a franchisee / customer service model. So I only see more and more disruption happening. But I do believe that since large number of farmers are small holding farmers, they'll also need to see how they can come out with economies of scale. Farmers also need to start looking at clusters, a cluster approach, maybe start going for monocropping patterns, start looking at more opportunities. In Telangana, as we speak, there are 5 revolutions that are unfolding right in front of our eyes in agriculture and allied sectors. I don't know how many of you know this, but Telangana now is the #1 state for inland fisheries in India. So the largest number of tanks, in fact, IIIT Hyderabad has also worked with our irrigation department on mapping out all the lakes and tanks in Telangana, more than 40,000 tanks. Now they've become, staple resources for production of fish. That's why we're #1 on inland fisheries, which leads to blue revolution and value addition. The second thing I'll tell you about is a green revolution that's happening. In 2014, Telangana paddy production was 68 lakh metric tons. As of last year, it was 3.5 crore metric tons. With the kind of work that has been done in creating newer irrigation sources and rejuvenating older sources like the tanks, etc. What has happened is a quantum leap in green revolution, which has led to green revolution. The third revolution that's unfolding right in front of our eyes is meat processing, pink revolution. Now, livestock is more than doubled in Telangana because of our sheep rearing program, which is now resulting in meat processing and export-oriented units also. In fact, Lulu Group is setting up a large unit in Telangana, and I'm sure there will be many, many more others who will do the same. There's also a white revolution happening, a dairy revolution, because the state-owned dairy called Vijaya Dairy, which was in losses, has now started paying back almost 40 crores in dividend to the state government because of simple interventions, which is again leading to white revolution and increased income for farmers. The last revolution I'll talk about is a yellow revolution, which is oil palm. Telangana has an audacious goal of moving from 0 to 20 lakh acres in the next 5 years, and wanting to ensure that India gets rid of its dependence on edible oils from importing from across the world. So these 5 revolutions, blue, green, white, pink, and yellow, between all 5 of them, there's plenty of opportunities to do value addition. Going back to the question, farmers will move away from the traditional paddy and cotton, will start latching onto these opportunities and start generating more and more income, which will in fact attract youngsters coming in. And today I met somebody in the morning, Kunal Kamra, and he was telling me that he started agriculture. I said, what are you doing in agriculture? He said, I'm doing hydroponics. I don't have large farms, I'm doing hydroponics. So farming will change its, style of farming will change. But effectively, I think you'll see new age farmers who are probably techpreneurs and technocrats as well coming into this space. So I see great hope.
Yes, sir. Raj, 24 Mantra, he's a good friend. I think he has changed how organic farming can be done. You're right, sir. A lot of people are getting in, both inside and outside. But I think fisheries is a huge surprise, sir, even for me. I mean, like, we're a semi-arid region.
But we have see, I went to Minnesota a couple of years ago, and Minnesota is called the land of 10,000 lakes. So when I met the governor, when I told him we have 46,000 lakes, he was zapped. So really, you have so many? I said, yes. Then when our Honorable Chief Minister, KCR Garu, started this program called Mission Kakatiya of rejuvenating in the tanks, it has not only resulted in the groundwater levels coming up in a big way. In fact, in my district, Rajanna Sirsila, groundwater has come up by 6 meters. Which
That's
is
amazing.
Which is
I think
humongous.
big round of applause for that. I think water is the most essential thing.
Precious commodity. 6 meters is what it came up by. And not only has the groundwater table improved, we have created opportunities now where from my district, a company called Fission is investing 1,000 crore rupees. And it is going to breed tilapia fish, and 100% of this fish will be exported to the United States. So this is the sort of work that is happening in Telangana, which needs to be understood, and the opportunities also need to be latched onto by our youngsters here.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Sir, with your permission, we'll take a little bit more time, sir. We hit the 7:30 limit. 10 minutes, sir.
Yeah, please go.
Okay, Aftab, your help with questions from the audience. While you find the first one, I have one fun question here. What do you do for fun in your free time? That's one of the Shia has asked this question.
I bash up my opponents for fun. I say nasty things about my opponents. I'm
So
kidding. I'm kidding.
Your work is fun.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I mean, of course, I watch movies. Yeah, movies. Go once in a while with my kids to a restaurant. Well, like anybody else, like all of you. I'll go to a movie, maybe. Yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant, sir? I don't want to put you in a spot, but
Yeah, you're not putting me in a spot right now. The one in Kohinoor right now. It's actually
Chinese one or
the Chinese
one,
Chinese
yes, sir.
one. It's rather good.
Yeah, Aftab, we have a question. Yes.
Hello,
If you could introduce yourself quickly.
I'm Malini. I followed your speech at the Dakshin Dialogue Conclave. You mentioned about inviting an international arbitrary group to be set up in Hyderabad.
Arbitrage Center, yeah.
Yes. So I presume that judiciary is an area of interest to you, and so I'm posing this question. Do you think end-to-end automation of judiciary is very important for our country? And if that's so, then what are the obstacles in automating the entire process? And a lot of startups are focused on commercial areas. If there is what needs to be done for taking up judiciary related innovations?
Malini, thank you. Great question. In fact, what we promised in Dakshin Dialogue, it has already been delivered. In fact, the Hyderabad International Center for Arbitration and Mediation is not far from here. It's very, very close. It is the makeshift campus is in Nanakramguda. You can visit it. In fact, there's a very good CEO as well who runs it. I can get him introduced to you through the IIIT guys. That's the first piece. So we've delivered on that promise. Secondly, judicial reforms and leveraging technology in judicial reforms is something that's extremely important. In fact, when Justice Madan Lokur, the Honorable Supreme Court judge, was here in Hyderabad a few years ago, we had mooted the idea of an integrated criminal justice system, ICJS. We had done some work. Unfortunately, it has not gone to its logical conclusion. There's a lot more to be done. But for those of you who are confused about how judiciary and technology and how enterprise are related, let me just give you one example. People often talk about ease of doing business, and as part of ease of doing business, people only talk about ease of entry into a new market. But what happens when there is a dispute between the promoters, or what happens when there is a dispute between the government and the promoter, and then you also have to exit? Dispute redressal mechanism, speedy exit is also equally important on the ease of doing business scale. So therefore, in fact, across the world, if you look around, there are fantastic centers and fantastic arbitration and mediation centers and dispute redressal mechanisms, which have done exceedingly well in India. Unfortunately, arbitration and mediation is not taken as seriously, but a lot of reforms are absolutely required in judiciary. But even before knocking on the doors of judiciary, I think arbitration, mediation is important from an enterprise perspective. And from government perspective, I would say quicker dispute redressal mechanism by honoring the judicial verdicts and also by honoring the arbitration awards is equally important. So we're working on a couple of these, but not at the same level at which I would presume you would want us to. We are getting there slowly and steadily. Thank you.
Aftab, we have another question.
Thank you, sir. I'm Ahita, currently pursuing MS by Research here in IoT Security and Smart Cities. So as we are in the digital era and the digital transformation era, cybersecurity is a very critical component to consider. So with respect to cybersecurity, are there any specific requirements for the state of Telangana at the moment? And what does the roadmap for digital safety look like moving forward? And since we are a research community, do you have any asks from the research community in this domain?
Oh, there's plenty to ask. In fact, about a month ago, we launched a new center, Center for Cybersecurity, Center of Excellence on Cybersecurity at the Cyberabad Police Commissionerate. You said Ankita, right? Ahita, I would say the crime, like everything else in the world, crime is also changing shape and changing form. Now, the real world crime is moving to cybercrime. I don't know if you watched this Netflix series called Jamtara. Have you? You should if you haven't. Not just, these things that we get to see on TV, but statistics show that crime, some sections that we have in Indian Penal Code have become antiquated and outdated. Because those sort of, sections such as 375, I think it is, which relates to dacoitry, has become completely outdated. Even the lawyers don't know anything about it. Neither do the cops, have to do anything about it at this point in time. So the new age cybercrime laws and how we tackle as a government are a very, very important subject. In fact, Telangana possibly will become the first Indian state to have its own legislation on cybercrime. Nalsar is helping us draft it, and we are in the process of, going through some iterations before we actually can go to the assembly and get it approved. But we are ahead of the rest of India. In fact, I've even mentioned it to the Union IT Minister, told him that we are working on this. He said, why don't you send me a copy? Maybe Government of India also can pick it up and make it a pan-India kind of a legislation. But more importantly, when I met with the MasterCard guys recently in Davos as well, they were telling me how many hits they get. And they're, of course, a financial services company. So the kind of hacking attempts that are made on their servers, on a good day, I was told was about 30 to 50,000. On a bad day, it could go all the way up to a couple of million. So this is a problem that is going to be a huge challenge for all of us as governments, as individuals, institutions, private sector. So there are a number of asks. In fact, how do we ensure that we stay ahead of the curve? That is the biggest question I would ask, of anybody. And like PJN was telling me, it's always a cat and mouse kind of a game that we play with the hackers, with the cyber criminals. But more importantly, how do we keep our data? Because as governments, we are sitting on billions and billions of data sets. Now, how do we keep that safe? How do we keep citizen data safe? For example, in Telangana, we are doing a project called a Citizen Health Profile. We have already completed testing 2 districts completely, pilot in 2 districts, capturing a lot of different elements. How do I keep this data secure? How do I give the confidence to the citizen? I get this question very often. Hyderabad has a large number of CC cameras, a lot of surveillance. What are you going to do with this data? How are you going to ensure that my privacy as a citizen is not affected? Now, how do I keep that secure? With data localization coming into play, how do I ensure that this data remains sacrosanct and doesn't fall into the wrong hands, other than governmental agencies which are using it judiciously for the right reasons to deter crime and other things? So these are the set of challenges which are universal. It is not for Telangana, but these are universal challenges. If you have cracked it, come work with us, and we'll probably be able to make some money on the side. If I lose my job, like I said, I'm going to also become an entrepreneur. So come work with us.
In fact, there was one of the questions one of the students, Nagiredi, had asked, but I couldn't get to it. But just exactly on that, with all the cameras, how do you keep the data safe? I think you answered that. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for that. There's one more question before Apta walks up to the other student here. There's a question on the live stream from Akshay. What is your opinion about sustainability and circular economy? I mean, you saw some of our plans on the sustainability center. What are your opinions on the circular economy?
I don't think we have a choice, really. I mean, sustainability, I was telling PJN is a abused word now, because everybody talks about it in such, everything sustainability gets thrown in. You go to Davos, everybody's saying green steel, green molecules, green this, green that, sustainability everywhere. ESG is, spoken in the same breath. It is something that the world cannot, look away from. But at the same time, we have to have a cautious realization on what can be done versus what cannot be done. I'll give you an example of what I mean. In Hyderabad, I'm attempting to make sure that 100% of the sewerage that is generated by the city, about 2000 MLD of it, million liters per day, is 100% treated by this May or June. But when I say 100% sewerage, all I'm doing is I'm asking Hyderabad Metro Water Supply and Sewerage Board to set up sewerage treatment plants with capacities of 2000 MLD. But will that make my city a model when it comes to sustainability in terms of reusing and recycling water? Probably not. The objective will only be partially fulfilled. Why is that? Because large number of apartment complexes which are mandated to have their own STPs, including campuses which are mandated to have their own STPs. Are they doing it? If they are not doing it, how do I account for that? So these sort of real world challenges with some gaping holes here, there, and everywhere, unless we address those, we cannot be a truly circular economy. The circular economy that Ramesh is talking about, had fascinating conversations with both Coke and Pepsi in Davos. Pepsi is investing in a large center here, more than 4,000 people, not very far from here. They have a large global capability center. So when the senior vice president from Pepsi came to meet me, I asked him, what are you doing about all the plastic bottles that you create? He said, I want to ensure that each and every one of these is reused completely, 100%. I don't want to utilize any new plastic anymore. That's a circular economy in his mind. What I would say from a state perspective is, it's good to have the net zero goals. It's good to have circular economy goals, but it also is important to understand that without the participation of people at large, government by itself or industry by itself cannot achieve much. We all need to ingrain this into our consciousness that this is something that's imperative. There's no more a choice now for all of us as humanity. Unless we get to it seriously, we can't really achieve real success. That's what I would.
No, absolutely. I think it's a role everybody has to play. Government can only facilitate. It's everybody's responsibility. Thankfully, we have our students. I think a big round of applause for our students. They keep our campus so clean, sir. Litter-free campus. Thanks to with 2,000 student campus, it's a litter-free campus. So I think, sir, we hit the 10-minute mark also that you gave us additionally. So after one last question.
Hi, sir. My name is Shubham. I work in the field of cryptography and blockchain. So you rightly said about the luxuries that we don't have, but I feel one luxury that we have is creation of regulations. So especially in the crypto space right now and in the field of blockchain, even our regulatory bodies are not able to understand whether crypto is a security or is a digital asset or whatever it is. In this whole thing that is going on, we are actually losing this race in the field of blockchain. A lot of the companies are going to Dubai or Singapore because they have much better regulations. You talked about Japan. So Japan also has a regulatory body when it comes to crypto. So they don't identify crypto as a security, but as a digital asset, which takes away a lot of red tape that is out there in the field. So I mean, what are we lagging in this space? Because we don't need any luxury or anything. We just need a body that can create straightforward rules and regulations in this field. So what do you think is lagging?
Well, Shubham, you answered the question yourself, actually, if you think about it for a minute. In the world over, when you have global currencies and when you have disruptive things like crypto that come in and really challenge the world and governments across the world in terms of how to deal with this issue, it becomes a huge ask, if you ask me, from a government perspective on how to really address it and define it. And of course, there is a real opportunity that we are losing out. In fact, February first week, Jayesh is here somewhere. We're launching the first regulatory sandbox on Web3, and it would be in Telangana. In fact, no other Indian state has done this, and we'll be doing it in February. Going back to your question, whether crypto should be looked at as a digital asset like how Japan has, I would agree with you. But you have to remember that we are merely a state under the larger rubric of Government of India. So therefore, I think while we can do policy advocacy, while we can reach out to Government of India and sensitize them and tell them that if Japan has done it, India should also possibly look at it in the right light before startups and youngsters start moving to Dubai and other places where the receptiveness is more. I can be a policy advocate. I can be your champion there. But unfortunately, I don't get to call the shots. So what you have to do, Shubham, is get me elected to Delhi, give me national government, and then I'll be able to do much more. But till such time, I'll do policy advocacy is what I think.
Absolutely, sir. I think we will do whatever we can to make that happen. So last question, I think you already indulged us at 15 minutes beyond time. Last question, very important question from Hariharan. And if any of you agree with this question, please give a loud round of applause. I mean, sound, cheer, if you think the question is important. So very important, sir, from Hariharan. Can you please reopen the DLF street food late at night? The police close it at some point, which I'm sure is very late already, but our kids stay later than that.
Really? Why do you need anything open beyond 12? Just asking. I don't know. Adventures? Adventures. So what I promise you is this. What I promise you is this. As soon as I get into my car, I'll talk to the Cyberabad commissioner. We'll ensure that there is a patrolling vehicle also, just in case. We don't want any nonsense happening either, because I'm sure there are a lot of young students here, both women and men, who would want to spend some time beyond midnight there as well. I know that you guys are the creative lot, so we'll need to ensure that we respect your time zones also. So we'll certainly make it happen. But please promise me that you will keep it clean, firstly, and you'll also keep it secure, and also maybe IIIT Hyderabad can possibly do something with tech, which can also make it safer for young women to be able to go there and come back to the campus or wherever. So please also ensure that, so that it becomes a win-win situation for you and me and for all of us. Yeah,
So we'll
make it happen. Pakka.
So we are one of the very few no curfew campuses, sir. Our students can go out and in any time. And thanks to the administration, the city, the police, and the government, the city is so safe. We don't even have to worry about sending them outside the campus anytime. So I think, and I'm sure you all will do your piece to keep it safe. So thank you so much, sir. Amazing conversation. I was looking forward to this. And I request Professor PJ Narayanan.
Thank you very much, KTR Garu. And I was just thinking, after all this conversation, what can I say myself? So I'll borrow from Tyagaraja, who said, yes, I'll sing. Tyagaraja says, Samanam Everu, Ramani Samanam Everu. So who is similar, who is equal to Rama? And he also goes on to say in the
Sir, and you thought I was looking for something. You thought I was looking for something.
He goes on to say, just describing him, Paluku Palukulaku, Tene Luluku Matalada. So every word.
Telugu now. Proper Telugu.
Should I sing? No. So I mean, KTR Garu has been the biggest friend of the institute ever since, in 2014, they formed the state. And, the little secret is, first day of his work, I think he had a meeting with industry. First day he was the minister. And second day, and that evening I get a call, can you come to ISB? And ISB, the dean, and we are all there. And the second day's work, he said he will, he said, we want to make Hyderabad the innovation capital. The seeds of T-Hub was sown that day. I told him this was a Friday. I told him you have to come to IIIT also. You're not seen IIIT. He said, I'll come on Tuesday. When he came that Tuesday, we 6:30. I said, I may be a little late. He came at 6:30 p.m. and left at 10 p.m. Okay. So these guys, their time zone and your time zone in the day. So he's been a biggest friend of the institute. And as you can see, he has good regard for us. But I think the Telangana is doing so well, and we should be part of that journey, and we would be nothing less than the Kohinoor in the Telangana story. Thank you very much. Can we have, we have a little request, PR request for you. We have some merchandise from, for.
You can pick one, sir.
You can pick whichever one you want.
There's that. Both are IIIT, sir. And this. You can take both, sir. But we want
you
to
take
both.
both.
One for a picture, sir.
I'm wearing this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I guessed it, sir. I guessed that you'd pick
I
this.
request Professor Rajreddy to come on stage. He can wear this one. Come.
Please come, sir.
Come for the picture, even for the jacket. Well, I have green trousers.
Open this.
Are you going to wear this? No. Sure. You're not wearing.
We'll get all that. We'll get to it. You have?
This is cold also, so it's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
How do you know that I wear an XL? We just figured. These are one size smaller than normal size. Just
Okay.
another.
You said you have frozen food?
Yeah, looks like he has one. Okay, we have the pictures.
I'm going to take a selfie myself. I'm going to take a selfie, a non-expert selfie.
Now for the expert selfie, sir, with the whole, with all of us, I think we have to come in.
You can shout. Okay.
Sir, thank you so much, sir, for fantastic time. So it's 3 hours. It's an amazing time. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all. Been great. Thank you. Good night.